welcome to Questions and Answers. This is our second time doing this. Make sure to send your questions to troyrunningblind@gmail.com, troyrunningblind@gmail.com. We'll start gathering them for another edition in about a month, maybe 6 weeks. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Share this link with those who can benefit from this channel, both blind and sighted. I've broke this up into a couple different segments. This first segment will deal with a group of questions that are related, and then we'll head outside to cover a couple travel questions, and then we'll bring it back in to finish up with a few other questions at the end. So these first three are grouped together, all three from different viewers, but related in a way. So this first question from a viewer said that what options are available to me if I'm not able to attend a residential training center? So what options are available to me if I'm not able to attend a residential training center? So a residential program is always ideal, and I would always recommend that one. Typically they're around 9 months, so you would live on campus and you would basically treat it just like work, Monday through Friday. Most of them are about 8 to 5, those general hours, and it's all training. They have a set of core classes pertaining to travel, which is orientation and mobility, Braille, technology, cooking, and usually one confidence building class. So a lot of times wood shop, or there's a training center that has a health and wellness class, which is really cool. So that's your ideal option. However, the other option is in-home services. The reason I would recommend finding that time and committing to a training center, a residential training center, is because you will gain the skills much more quickly and you will have a much more solid foundation. Those skills will be cemented much sooner and ingrained in you, as opposed to receiving in-home services. In-home services, you're lucky if you're going to be able to get a TVI or an instructor out to your home once or twice a month. So for instance, in O&M, you would be lucky or even hard pressed to see someone once a month. And I did just speak to a former student of mine who left training, and they are only receiving O&M once every 6 weeks right now. So it's extremely difficult, and this is not just in Michigan, this is pretty much anywhere. You know, these instructors are far and few in between. They cover a lot of territory, and they're not going to be able to see you more than once or twice a month, max twice a month. And so gaining the skills you need in a reasonable amount of time is just not very efficient. In fact, by the time they come back out, you've probably lost or need to recover what you learned the previous time. It's a very slow go. So I would highly recommend making the time, finding that time, committing to a residential training center. As much as it may uproot your life, it's just a very small segment in your life that will help you live the rest of your life independently. So that's my recommendation, but there is in-home services. Second question is, what is structured discovery? In this particular email, the person stated, I've heard you mention the word structured discovery, but they didn't really know much about it. So Structured discovery, two things I want to talk about in structured discovery. So this is a philosophy, and it has to do with the way you are taught. And one of those things is you are taught these alternative techniques wearing what's called learning shades. So no matter where you're at on the spectrum, whether you're high partial, low partial, you have a little bit of shadow vision, it doesn't matter, because you're wearing these learning shades. I apologize, I don't have any, but when we head outside, I'll grab some so you can see what they are. But you will wear these learning shades, and they completely block any vision and light. That way, you're not tempted to use your faulty sight, and you're concentrating on learning the alternative techniques and using those. And then after you've gained those alternative techniques, if you do have some sort of vision, you can start to incorporate that vision outside of training, but it's never done in training. The second part of structured discovery is being allowed to make mistakes. A lot of times we see as professionals these young adults who come in and they have been so sheltered that they've never been allowed to make a mistake. And a good example is someone who's never been allowed to cook on the stovetop, or been very, very limited, or helped so much that they don't know what it's like to burn a grilled cheese. And in structured discovery, you would be allowed to burn that grilled cheese if you're not paying attention and doing what you need to do, or even if you are, you still may end up burning it. And that's okay, because you're learning from burning that grilled cheese. You're learning what not to do and what to do. You're learning, okay, I got to pay better attention to where my heat's at. I got to pay better attention to how long before I flip it. So being allowed to make that mistake is learning. That's part of the learning process. Same thing in orientation and mobility. When I have a student who goes outside for the first time, and before a student would ever go outside, they would always have the foundational travel skills before I move them outside. But let's say they have those skills and I move them out on the sidewalk, and they start learning how to travel up and down a sidewalk. And two of those skills that they would possess before being able to do that outside is covering your body from shoulder to shoulder and walking in step. And let's say they get a little bit lazy, or maybe they kind of lose track that they're not even in step because they're nervous, and all of a sudden they face plant a pole. It's the face planting of the pole that is a learning experience, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk up as an instructor and say, how do you think that happened? And if the student tells me right away, no, I wasn't in step, then they realize how important being in step is. If they don't know what caused it, then I'll discuss with them the possibilities of what caused it. But it's the learning, it's making that mistake and learning from it. What to do, what not to do. So it's those two things that are structured discovery. And this kind of goes along with the third question. This third question came in from another viewer, and that is, what training centers would you recommend? Well, I would always recommend structured discovery training centers. The leading one, and highly regarded in the U.S., is the Louisiana Center for the Blind. This is where I did my teaching hours, and I will tell you they have a very good program. I really like the residential program, about 9 months there. However, there are other places. Iowa has a very good training center. That's where I graduated from years ago. Colorado, the Colorado Center for the Blind is another one. And then there's New Mexico has one. Nebraska, there's one in California. Most of these, you notice, are kind of Midwest, running southwest out west. And there's not really any good, decent ones East Coast. But if you were hard pressed I would say Virginia would be a choice out east. If for some reason you're not able to go to a training center and commit that time, or it's just not possible to move to attend the residential training centers such as Louisiana or Colorado or Iowa, then any services is better than none. Attend a training center in your state. Anything is better than nothing. All right, so we're gonna head outside. We'll cover a couple travel things and then we'll bring it back in. Troy, and we're outside, so it's really windy. I'll do my best. I'll be descriptive, as descriptive as possible. So one question I had is, what is shorelining? I do have several videos talking about this, but shorelining is when we are traveling and following a line to travel by. So for instance, here I am walking on the side of the street because there is no sidewalk on this street. And what I'm doing is I'm keeping in step, but every other step I'm in contact with my shoreline, which right now is grass. And then you'll notice eventually I will come to, oh, there's a drain of some sort. Now I'm at a curb, so I'm shorelining the curb right now. So hopefully I got that curb in there that you can see. But this is shorelining. My line of travel is I'm in contact with whatever the shoreline is, in this case a curb, and I'm in contact with it every other step. Is it safe? So the answer is yes, it is safe as long as you know the proper technique. So we're gonna head back in now. Pretty cold out, pretty windy, but I'll see you back inside. Okay, so definitely windy out there today. Hopefully that recorded well, and if not, I know I was descriptive enough to give you a good idea for those who are blind. So 2 last questions I want to cover before we end this. One came in, just kind of off the wall question, and said, do you know Braille? And yes, I do know the Braille code. I am not a strong reader though. I can read Braille as far as finding my room in a hotel or for short sentences, but to sit down and read a book, that's not a strong suit of mine. But yes, I know the Braille code. And the last one is, I had a former student of mine email me and said, what skills must I possess to attempt to live independently? And I know this particular student, and I would say if you've been to a training center, a residential training center, then you probably have the skills that it takes to live on your own. However, if you haven't, these are the things that you need to look for. 1, you have to be able to cook for yourself. Can you cook on the stovetop, use the oven safely and effectively, efficiently? You need to know, how do I check? How do I know when my hamburger is done? How do I know when my lasagna is done baking? You need to know how to get that stuff in and out of the oven safely without burning yourself. How to know if something's cooked thoroughly so that you're not getting sick. Cleaning. You have to know how to wipe down counters. There is a method to it. You have to know how to do your laundry and know that it's done right. Those are all skills you have to possess. Technology. Most everybody has a smartphone nowadays, but do you know how to use the gestures, the talkback or the voiceover efficiently, effectively? Do you know how to get the apps that you need to live your life independently. Reading apps such as maybe like Seeing AI. And last but certainly not least, travel. You have to know how to travel. You know, as a O&M instructor, I've said, and it just holds so true, that if you cannot travel independently, you cannot be independent. You have to be able to travel to be independent. You have to know how to get to work. Can I get to work using the bus? Can I get to work using Uber? Can I get to work walking? I need to be able to go to doctor's appointments and know how to locate that address if I'm walking there. You know how to go to the grocery store, pick up groceries. So being able to travel is another one. And once you think you have these skills, if you have not been to a training center and you think you have these skills, contact someone who does live alone, that is blind, or lives independently and has lived independently as a blind person. All right, and tell them what you're doing, and ask them to give you an honest opinion if you're ready to live on your own. All right. If you are a person who's living at home and everything's currently being done for you, then start taking the initiative to cook meals or start helping out with meals, and then move into cooking them on your own. If you don't know how to do laundry, then start asking, start looking up videos, start talking to people, networking with other blind people. So knowing the foundational skills of cooking, cleaning, technology, travel, and even Braille, those are the things you must know to live independently. All right, make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. Share this video, share this link for the channel with not only the blind, but the sighted, who may want to learn more about the blind community. Send in your questions to troyrunningblind@gmail.com, and I'll see you next time.